All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of great millstone that taught us this truth. And salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. And the elect begins with the 144,000. Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God and Jehovah. BAHASHAM is in the name. YAHAWASHI, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. The Rakakwadash, which shares the Holy Spirit. I'm the brother I will love you with the GMS Chicago camp out here in Chicago. Come back at you, brothers and sisters at the household of faith of the Hopeful Right Select with another lesson. And Lord will not hope this lesson be edifying through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI. Once again, I hope this lesson is edifying. And just this lesson ultimately stands back to the live street teaching we had today, man. Really going into the fact that a lot of our people, these scoffing Israelites out here that come up against this word will ultimately be destroyed, man. Because we had an incident, today at camp, when you had this scoffing Jake ultimately, trying to, take pictures of us when we told this Jake, just to keep walking. This Jake ultimately end up aggravating, ultimately, basically trying to, get us off our square, man. Then this nigga, end up smoking weed right by the camp, man. But just to say, a lot of you scoffing wicked Israelites will be dealt with, man, by Yahweh, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. And this is nothing new, man. The prophets of old had to go through it, and we have to go through it the same thing in this time, man. All our people, the wicked of our people, has always came up against the prophets of Yahweh, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, man, until the Lord ultimately dealt with them, man. This is nothing new, man. Even going back to ancient Egypt, where a lot of our people, the wicked of our people came up against Moses. Even the Babylonian captivity, the Medo-Persian captivity, the Greeks, the Romans, and here in America today, man. Our people think this thing is a game, man. A lot of our people think this is a damn joke, man. We're coming to the time where the Lord is just going to start zapping niggas, man. But just to start it off, man, I'm going to just let the scriptures talk. This is the book of 2 Chronicles 36 and verse 15. And it reads, "And the Lord Yahweh of their fathers sent to them by his messengers, rising up betimes and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place." And right, when you see the prophets on the highways and byways that Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI set up, man, it's a sign of mercy, man. It's the Lord ultimately extending his hand out, to his people, man. But you're gonna have those of our people that's not going to hearken, man. And ultimately, each captivity that you look at, man, that we're in, man, you had wicked of our people that ultimately didn't accept the mercies of Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, man. And the Lord ultimately dealt with them, man. Even going back to the wilderness of ancient Egypt, I thought our people was delivered out of ancient Egypt, man. They didn't hearken. And ultimately, what did the Lord Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI do to them niggas, man? The Lord just got rid of them, man. Same thing is going to happen as Zechariah the 12th chapter says, man. Was it Zechariah 13? Two parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein, man. But let's continue. 2 Chronicles 36 and 16, it says, "But they mocked the messengers of Yahweh and despised his words and misused his prophets until the wrath of the Lord arose against his people, till there was no remedy." It says, until there was no remedy, man. So the Lord just ultimately got rid of these wicked ass niggas, man, because they didn't hearken into his words. So the Lord ultimately set up different plagues and pestilence to get rid of the wicked of our people, man. Let's actually grab that in Jeremiah, man, because the Lord is coming down with that judgment upon the wicked of our people, man. Let me grab this real quick and believe it's Jeremiah. Let me see. Bear with me for a second. I believe it's Jeremiah 15 and 1. Yep, Jeremiah 15 and verse 1. "Then said the Lord unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be toward this people. Cast them out of my sight, and let them go forth. And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, Whither shall we go forth? Then shalt thou tell them, Thus saith the Lord, such as are for death to death." And right, these are This is what's coming for 2/3 of our people. The ones that refuse to hearken, the ones that refuse to bow down their ear, to the law of the Lord, man. This is for you wicked ass, scoffing ass niggas, man. It says, such as are for death to death, and such as are for the sword to the sword, and such as are for the famine to the famine, and such as are for the captivity to the captivity. And I will point over them 4 kinds, saith the Lord, the sword to slay, and the dogs to tear, and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy. Right? Because we're coming into a time of Jacob's trouble where the Lord is going to use Esau Edom to get rid of you wicked ass niggas, man. Especially the ones of our people that come up against this word, man. The Lord has a special type of judgment for you, man. You know, because even in the scriptures it says, for every idle word that men shall speak, they shall be given account, in the day of judgment, loosely paraphrasing. So everything that these wicked ass niggas do when it comes, to this word, man, they talking bad about the Lord's men and things of that nature. Hey, just know a recompense is coming, man. Let's grab that in Proverbs. This is the book of Proverbs, 1 and verse 20. And it reads, wisdom cried without, she uttered for a voice in the streets. She cried from the chief place of concourse and the opening of the gates in the city. She uttered for words, saying, how long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. And in actuality, man, the Lord has ultimately blinded 2/3 of our people from getting this truth, man. Because in actuality, these are the same niggas, in their past lives. These wicked ass niggas that's basically said, well, let the blood be upon us and our children, man. So ultimately, what, these are the same wicked spirits back in this generation today, ultimately, coming back to receive their judgment, man. you know so when these niggas begin to fall like flies, man, I don't feel sorry for these niggas, man, because what, hey, the word was preaching to them and they ultimately what, they rejected it, man. So the Lord is ultimately going to reject them, you know and we're coming to the time where the Lord is just going to let the floodgates of judgment loose, man. And the Lord is just going to destroy these wicked ass niggas. It says, read verse 22 again. It says, how long, ye simple ones, will you love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Right? This is the wicked of our people, man. They utter anything that comes to their mouth. They talk bad about this word, man. You know, despite them having no understanding, they think they know more than us, man. You know, it says, verse 23, it says, turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you, and I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called and you refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. What's the hand of the Lord, man? The prophets. What's that? Luke 1 and 70, by the mouth of his holy prophets ever since the world began, man. Because what, our people ultimately, they refuse correction, man. They refuse to get right. So the Lord is just ultimately what, going to do away with them, man. The Lord is just going to destroy them, man. Put them out of their misery, man. The ones of our people that mock, scorn, think this shit is a game, man. Hey, the Lord is gonna show these niggas, hey, man, the Lord is just gonna start destroying these niggas, man. Because hey, if it was the so-called white man teaching the highways and byways, they wouldn't do it to the so-called white man. But when they see, us, people that look like them, they ultimately what? They come up against this word, man. When we speak truth, they begin to lose their mind, man. Just like Stephen, started to rebuke them niggas, man. They ultimately stoned Stephen was for speaking the truth, And ultimately, what, these niggas out here want to kill us, man. These people out here want to destroy us, man. The wicked of our people want to, they don't want to see us preach this word, man. It says, verse 25, it says, but ye have set at not all my counsel, and when none of my reproof, I also will laugh at your calamity, and I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as a desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For they that hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord, they would none of my counsel. They despised all of my reproof. And how do they despise the Lord's reproof? Ultimately coming up against this word, man, as I read in that Second Chronicles 36 and 16, man. They mock the messengers of YAHAWAH, man. And that's what these wicked ass niggas do, man. They mock, they scorn. They talk about the garments that we have on, man. They talk about the names of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, man. They come up against those names, man. They come up against this word. They come up against the prophecies. They come up against everything that we, come in, man. We come in the name of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, man. They come up against all of it, man. We tell these wicked ass niggas to get right, and they look at us sideways, man. So ultimately, what? Hey, the Lord is just going to start judging these niggas, man. You know It says, verse 31 says, therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall they slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely and shall be quiet from the fear of evil. And it's ultimately going to hearken unto Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, man, hey, the prophets, man. Only the prophets, I said the prophets, but the prophets too, the true prophets of Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, but the elect, man, was what I meant to say. The elect of Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI is going to hearken, unto the word, man, and ultimately what? Be delivered, by the word. But let me actually grab this real quick if I can find it. Bear with me for a second. Lord willing, I can find it. I believe it's in Amos. This is the book of Amos 5 and 10, and it reads, they hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. Right? Our people hate us for speaking the truth, man. They want to hear those soothing words. They want to hear ultimately deceit and lies, man. That's what our people live for, man. To hear lies, to hear that everything is going to be okay. That's why people always hated the prophets of old, man, as they hate us in this time now, because, well, we always spoke the truth, man. The prophets of old spoke the truth, and those same prophets coming back in the reincarnation is speaking the truth, to this very day, man, telling our people what they're going to be destroyed if they don't get right. That all these different prophecies are going to come to pass, man, but they hate us for actually teaching, these said things, man. To the point as I had, mentioned the account of I believe that's Acts the 7th chapter, where ultimately when Stephen told off on these niggas, man, when Stephen told the truth and these niggas hated Stephen for it, man, they, like I said, they ultimately want to kill us, man, So ultimately, what? They hated him that rebuketh in the gate, man, because we're ultimately coming with the 100% truth of Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, man. We don't sugarcoat anything, and we come with straight facts. Hey, thus saith the Bible, man, and our people hate us for it, man. But this is for these wicked ass niggas, man. Hey, the ones of our people that refuse to get right. This is the book of Amos, same book. This is the book of Amos 9 and verse 10, and it reads, all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, will say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. Right, so judgment is coming to the wicked of our people, man, that refuse to hearken, that refuse to get right. Hey, even Colossians, what's that, 3 and 25? He that doeth wrong shall receive of the wrong which he have done. There is no respect of person. So everything that our people, do coming up against this word, speaking bad about the Lord's prophets, there's a recompense for that, man. There's a judgment for that, man. Let's actually grab one more before I close out. Hey, because what? You have a lot of our people scoffing, and it's only going to be towards their destruction, man. So, hey, don't feel bad for these niggas when they start to drop dead, man, and things of that nature, man, because ultimately what? They rejected the words of Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, man. And like I mentioned before, there is a judgment for that, and the Lord is going to judge these niggas, man. This is the book of 2 Peter 3, and in verse 3, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers walking after their own lusts. And as I mentioned, at the start of this lesson, you had a wicked ass nigga come up to camp, also being just rude, rowdy, and just overall disrespectful, man. Smoking weed by the camp, trying to take pictures of us when we told him not to, just to keep walking down the street, man. So you're gonna have, 2/3 of our people that come up against this word, man, scoffing at this word, man. And it reads, verse 4 says, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of Yahawah the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. Right? Because ultimately, going back to us, the first death, which is ultimately what? When the Lord, flooded the earth and only saved 8 souls, what you had Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth and their wives, man. And ultimately in this time, what? You're going to have the elect that the Lord is going to deliver, from that second death, which is that thermonuclear destruction, man. While 2/3 of our people is going to have their part in the lake of fire, man. Because of what? They scoff this word, they come up against this word, man. And the same thing is about to happen. These are the same wicked spirits back today, ultimately just coming back to receive their judgment, man. So a lot of these scoffing ass niggas will be destroyed, man. But just something quick I wanted to get into, man. Lord, and I hope this lesson was edifying. I want to end out by giving our praise and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone to tell us this truth, and salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. Lord willing, I hope this lesson was edifying. Till next time, Kwame Yasharella, Shalom, and Abba Ball. Until next time, Lord willing.